Welcome to the Christina Loren Show, where we slice right through that tired old baloney being served up by the mainstream media and instead give you a piping hot plate of delicious truth. Episode 4 is a special debate prep edition as we get ready for a big night in this country. And when you consider the high stakes involved, I think tonight's not only going to be legendary, but pivotal for our nation. For the first time in 4 years, President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump will confront each other eye to eye after a relentless exchange of insults on online platforms and on television. So my expectation is that this great American face-off will release their pent-up aggression in real time on a national stage as we the people look on. Now, President Biden has been holed up at Camp David for the last week, preparing for the big show, where he's taken mock debate to unprecedented heights. As the New York Times reports, a movie theater and an airplane hangar have been outfitted with lights and production equipment to create a mock debate stage. And at least 16 current and former aides summoned from Washington and Wilmington whiz back and forth on golf carts to join the president in strategy sessions. And the Telegraph reports his lawyer was set to impersonate Trump and insult the president in debate practice. Are those billable hours? Who's paying for this grand spectacle? Nonetheless, my money is still on Donald Trump for the win. In the untamed frontier of conservative podcasts, where men roam free like buffalo, navigating this rough terrain as a woman often makes me feel like an avocado in a beefy BLT. You might say it's a delightful surprise that elevates the crispiness of the bacon. That's why I thought I'd humbly offer some suggestions to former President Donald Trump, who I'm hoping will secure a victory in November. And although I'm a big fan of men, securing male voters will not be the primary obstacle for him in this election because they tend to vote with their pocketbooks. The true challenge will be rallying women to vote for him in key battleground states. And tonight will be a defining moment in convincing women that he is on their side and the best man for America. So let's kick this thing off with my big three.
3, 2, 1.
I would suggest keeping it positive. These are dark times, and it seems like another 4 years of Biden would only usher in more darkness, confusion, and financial despair. We need a guiding light right now, somebody who can bring hope and prosperity back into our lives. Number 2, avoid any hard facts that might be countered by biased statistics and CNN fact checkers who seem determined to undermine his credibility. And number 3, if it were me, this is what I would do. President Biden's recent displays of weariness are apparent, so an effective strategy may be to try to exhaust him in the first 60 minutes and then bombard him with questions to assess his memory in the last 30 minutes. Now, there are a number of topics that will undoubtedly be contained in the list of questions for tonight's debate, so I'd like to address a few of them directly. Now, obviously, a central issue for women in this particular election cycle are reproductive rights. Now, on this topic, I think it's incredibly important to reinforce that he is by no means advocating to revoke women's rights. This needs to be spelled out clearly, plain as day. I think it should be noted that women make an invaluable contribution to the U.S. economy, and these vast contributions reinforce women's rights. I think it would also be a good idea to point out that abortion can have profound psychological impacts on women. And this is an aspect that is not often discussed, but it should be. And it would show female voters that he does care. He could even confront his opponent directly and ask him straight up, do you think that God supports your stance on abortion? Because even within the Catholic Church, President Biden's inconsistent position is apparent.
Is there any Biden effect in the pews, perhaps?
I would not put a lot of emphasis on that.
Okay.
He does attend church regularly with great devotion. But he also steps aside some of the hot button issues, or uses the hot button issues as a political tool, which it's not the way I think we would want our faith to be used. The issues of life begin at the very beginning, and they conclude at natural death. And you can't pick and choose. You're either one who respects life in all of its dimensions, or you have to step aside and say, I'm not pro-life. I'm, in one side of the equation, I feel that I can support this dimension of life, but in others, I would step aside.
Moving on now to Hunter Biden. I think I speak for most women when I say we are sick of seeing the pictures of his escapades and just hearing about him in general. So I would suggest that former President Donald Trump does not spend a lot of time highlighting Hunter's questionable background. The American people want to hear about what's to come. Prosperity. We need hope. We need light. Not Hunter. He can point out that the world has seen the shady laptop images, and they are now burned into our memories. It might be more effective to focus on overcoming addiction, how hard it is. He could even applaud the Americans who are watching who have been able to do so. But I do think it's worth questioning Hunter's 5-year-old child, why she's never met her grandfather, as multiple sources, including the National Review, have reported. Now, we know it's coming. One of the moderators, or even President Biden himself, will likely ask multiple questions about E. Jean Carroll and Stormy Daniels. When this happens, I would advise pivoting the conversation immediately. He could even state something along the lines of, I'm not on trial tonight, and I don't need to defend my character. The American people already know me, and they know me well. And judging by the latest polls, they want me back because of my record of boosting the economy and keeping families safe with law and order. And it's a pretty safe bet that they will ask former President Donald Trump if he believes that the 2020 election was rigged, to which I would recommend responding with, just look at social media. Many Americans, they believe that it was. Then pivot the conversation immediately to the upcoming general election, suggesting a greater confidence this go around because of the great work being done by the RNC. And lastly, when asked about January 6th, I think it's important to point out that some Trump supporters felt so strongly about the election potentially being stolen that they were moved to protest. And then quickly bring up Speaker Nancy Pelosi's admitted security failures on that day. It's also worth noting that tonight's presidential debate could provide valuable insights into the impeachment inquiry targeting President Biden, particularly when it comes to the border. President Trump can ask him about something that many Americans are still wondering about. Why did it take him so long to use his executive authority? And just weeks ago, Representative Jared Moskowitz of Florida's 23rd District boldly challenged Republicans to set the date.
So again, Mr. Chairman, since you think this is the final blow, right, and obviously the chairman of Judiciary is here too, we only have June, July, and September before the election. We're not here in August and October. So, I mean, I'm sure the American people are paying attention at 11:30 p.m. where you buried this hearing because it's so important. When are we going to do the impeachment of Joe Biden? When is that going to happen? Is it going to be June? Is it going to be July? Is it going to be September? Let's just put it on the calendar. Let's just put it on the calendar. Pick a month. We're available. We were available at 11 a.m. You guys weren't. Just pick a month, right, so we can get it on the calendar and do the impeachment. So hold on. I'll give you choices. Ready? June. July. How about September? Okay.
How about it? I'll close with my forecast for tonight's debate, and then share a little bit of inspiration. Now, the debate rules state that Biden and Trump will both have muted microphones. Nonetheless, I think former President Donald Trump is loud enough to be picked up on Biden's mic, and therefore the shouting matches will ensue. The moderators will be CNN anchors Jake Tapper and Dana Bash, who both lean very heavily to the left. Yet, they know they're going to be judged by the American people, so I expect them to be fair. CNN is already facing major challenges with decreasing viewership, so it's critical for them to at least appear to be unbiased for this debate. However, whoever is in control of the microphones, and that could be a director, or it could be an executive sitting next to the director, I expect that person will be highly biased. And as a result, former President Donald Trump's mic will get cut far more frequently than President Biden's. Now, if you want to watch the debate tonight and you don't have cable, you can do so for free on USA Today via YouTube, and the action starts at 9 p.m. And I leave you with this, some hope for the future. In a speech just days ago, Trump declared that if he is reelected, Christians and religious freedoms in general will be protected.
When I return to the White House, I will once again aggressively defend religious freedom in all of its forms, and many forms, but we will defend it in every single one of its forms. We will protect Christians in our schools, in our military, in our government, in our workplaces, in our hospitals, and in our public square.
Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the Christina Loren Show. Wishing you a beautifully blessed finish to the week.